Okay, today is Friday, March 25th, and I have the seedlings outside for the first time, getting some natural sunlight and hardening them off a little bit. I'm debating maybe moving these guys out into the garage and putting the lights out there. It'll still keep them out of the elements, but they'll be in a cooler temperature, which will make hardening them off a little bit easier. So I may work on that after this video. But I wanted to just document the progress on everything. Alright, going right in. Down here, we've got the two sage plants looking very nicely. The back row is all marigolds, and down there is just one lone chamomile. This whole tray is marigolds. Over here we've got the catnip and the spearmint and the tomatoes. This side is Gardener's Delight, and this side is Mexican Midget. In the back row here we have our peppers. This one in the back corner is just starting to get its true leaves. Actually, this one up here is too. A couple observations with the grow lights. At a certain point, I feel like right about now, when some of the plants are about a month old, they're not really loving the indoor light as much. They need sunlight, so I think I'm going to really make an effort to get these outside into the light now. There's our parsley. I think I'm going to lose maybe one or two of these, but I have a couple viable candidates that are starting to put on their true leaves, so that's very promising. We've got the green onions and the red Weathersfield onions. I'm not sure which tray is which actually, but they are labeled. Took some time to prune my Shasta daisy plant the other day, and this is perennial, so it should be coming back to life here, and you can tell it's starting to put on some new green leaves. I did the same thing with my foxglove. The slugs and bugs had quite the buffet on the leaves, but I cut all those off and rejuvenated it a bit. And I think this year we'll see our first bloom, which will be so fantastic. One other thing I'm really excited about is this lupine is coming back to life. It is supposed to be perennial, so I wasn't sure if it would make it through the winter. The other one did not. There were two over there, but this one is, so I couldn't be happier about that. The neighbor did a little bit of pruning here, so we've got some downed logs. Let's see here. Down here, we've got Phobo. Hi, buddy. I'm on cat duty today. I'm doing some cat sitting for the neighbors. Yeah, the zinnias, which were some of them are really starting to struggle inside. These ones in the square containers are pretty good. These were the ones that I didn't think would do as well. I'll show you the ones that are really struggling, but these are actually doing better than the ones in the big pot. The ones in the big pot are rotting and turning yellow, so that was very interesting. The butterhead lettuce is doing great. I'm going to try to get that transplanted soon. And this is more marigolds over here. They're just starting to put on their true leaves. And that's just one lone Swiss chard. Over here, pull this a little closer. Got the butterhead lettuce. Our sage, some more zinnias, marigolds. Oh wow, they really put on a lot of growth. Down here we have 2 lacinato dino kales and 1 volunteer tomato, more lettuce, spinach, Swiss chard, thyme, and these are the zinnias that were really struggling. I may lose a couple more out of that container. I think they got some sort of root rot. And back there is chamomile, another tray of Swiss chard, and another whole tray of lacinato dino kale. It's amazing what a little bit of sunlight will do for the garden. There's Bobo. He's so sweet. He hasn't really left my side lately. I have a lot of work to do in garden bed too there. I still have to take down all the old zinnias from last year. I'll do that soon here now that the weather's finally warming up. But yeah, a couple observations on the grow lights. I would say for the type of lights that I have, they're LED, very cold, cool light. Really good for starting the seeds. I wouldn't say after 4 weeks or so, they really need to get out into the sunlight. So a good season extender, but not a long-term solution for growing plants indoors. But that's exactly what I needed it for. I just needed a place to start my seeds a little early. So I have a lot to do out here. It's going to be time to start getting the beds ready and also just get the setup in the garage for these plants so that they start acclimating to the cooler temperatures. But in general, I'm really pleased. I've lost a couple things. Some things have exceeded my expectations and some things, didn't make it. Really, I just lost a couple zinnias is all. And a couple parsleys. I think that's all. In general, everything else survived so far, so far so good. So on that note, I'm going to keep my forward momentum, and I'm going to get the plants set up in the garage tonight with the lights. And tomorrow I think I'll pick up a timer since they won't be close by. And that way I don't have to worry about not getting outside to the garage in the early morning hours. I just know myself that that's not going to happen. All right. One last glimpse of this tray here. It couldn't be more beautiful right now. We made it through another winter. All right, over and out for now. Okay, I successfully moved everything into the garage, out of the basement and into a colder environment to try to get these plants used to being outside. This is sort of like the next step in the process, and I feel good about it. It's not been too cold. I'll keep an eye on the weather. Hopefully Mother Nature doesn't throw me a huge curveball with like a huge stretch of really cold weather, but I do need to watch that and be aware. But everything is looking good. Got the lights set up out here, and everything is looking really good after a day in the sunshine. It's amazing what a day in the sunshine will do for seedlings. You can really see the difference. At least I can. I just can tell they really soaked it up. So one other thing I did just now is I sprayed some neem oil on the surface of the soil of all the plants to discourage any. This is this is not part of my original seedling batch. This is a Shasta daisy that I started last autumn, and I just found room for her, so she's in there. Back to what I was saying, I sprayed the surface of the soil with neem oil because this pot here, as you can see, these zinnias, they are really hurting. I've already lost one. Several more are turning completely yellow, and their leaves are starting to like drop down at the side. So I think we're having root rot, although I'm no authority on this. I don't really know for sure, but it can't hurt. And I'm going to try to let the soil dry out now in between waterings. And if I can, I will try to water from the bottom, but it hasn't really been easy for me to do that because I only have one tray. So all things that will improve in time. But yeah, speaking of time, it's really starting to come along. Finally, you can see it's growing taller now, so that's really exciting. There's another Shasta daisy over there in the corner. And last but not least, we've got the butterhead lettuce, which I need to get outside into a garden bed soon. But I wouldn't dare do that until I have some slug protections in place. I have some copper tape, and I'm going to do some creative borders around some of my tender seedlings when I transplant them out. So I'm really happy with the way that turned out. And now I just need to pick up a timer for these lights, and then when I have the actual time to do it, I will actually put these seedlings outside in the sun. And now that they're in the garage, that's going to be a lot easier, even though it's a lot of work to move them around. But the price we pay as gardeners to have a beautiful garden later. This is a rosemary plant I started from seed last year. I lost the other one to root rot, I think. Something killed it. This one has had really bad cases of powdery mildew. When it was just a wee little thing, it was next door to a zucchini plant that had powdery mildew all over it, and it blew onto this baby rosemary, and it's just constantly struggling with it. So I just also sprayed it down with some neem oil, and it is trying to make a comeback, but it's not the most healthy specimen, but that's okay. One last look at the beautiful plants. I'm so excited. And on that note, I will end it there. Over and out.